back on block. Back on block. Back on block, we back on block, we back on block. Back on block. Back on block. Back on block, we back on block, we back on block. Black on block, we black on block, we black on block. Black on block, we run the streets, we got supply. Black on block, we don't complain, we just comply, nigga. Back on block, you back on us if we not die, nigga. Black call me black, give me black women. Black women, black booty, black beauty.
My name is Daniel, Big D. When I realized I was black, was the first time I traveled overseas. We went to Dubai and we were just having a good time. Not that they are white, they're brown, but holy shit, I looked at my skin and I was like, shit, I am black. I was maybe 18.
Life is too short, man, I'm living in the moment. Greezy, I'm just human and you know we never perfect.
Most of my film class, I'm the only black person or the only Nigerian, because it's not even common for a Nigerian student to study film. My name is Victoria Angel. I probably realized I was black when the people on TV, American and British TV, like I saw them like different and I was like, wait, they're not Nigerian, right? Like all the Nigerians I know look like this. And also their accents, so I was like, there has to be something different if we don't sound the same. So yeah, that's like, I'd say age 4 or 5.
Yeah. Don't judge me on my past life. Don't judge me for my past crimes. Don't judge me for the past.
I and a friend from Gambia, we went to like another part of the city that we've never been before. We were just exploring and we wanted to go into a store and the man basically said, no, it's closed, you can't come in. So it was probably 2, 3 o'clock, so we just left. And when we saw like a family, I think they were tourists from like another part of Europe or something, and they just went in and we literally were standing at the door while we went in and he was showing them around, and it was very weird. Like, it wasn't like a bad feeling, but it was like what the hell, like very confused feeling at the time. And I was in a boarding school in Nigeria, so it was like an even bigger like shock. Like it hit me.
Take back my mistakes, I can only move forward. Yeah, always forward, man.
My name is Tutan Pungu. I was born in Kenya and my family immigrated to BC in 2003. I realized I was black when I moved to Canada. In Kenya, I did not see color. I saw culture. I saw cultural indifferences. I saw language indifferences. I saw education indifferences. But when I moved to Canada, to a community that only had 3 black students in a whole high school, I knew I was black and I knew I was different from everyone else. I was very sad because I was 13. That's a very delicate age. You're trying to find out who you are. You're a teenager, you're going through hormonal changes, personal changes, and then you're moving to a country where you can't identify with anyone else around you.
The new generation is going according the way we are living now. They don't really focusing or take themselves back, or some of them, they don't even have anybody to tell them, oh, this is how black people live. This is what happened to black people back in the days. So it's going to be so hard and they're going to be struggle for them to understand what it means to be black or how to become black, because they're going to be living according to the people around them. And if those people are not black, because they never lived in a black community, they never lived there, all the life experience, it's just living in other people's culture. In my understanding, I don't think as black people we are so committed or we are so into our history. So it's so hard for them to know who they are and where they're from, because they have so many things in them.
Don't judge me.
I just saw a bunch of guys swinging sticks and shields. People used to do them to celebrate special events. Some of the things were a little bit scary. Some of the things were interesting. Some of the things I just didn't quite understand yet. I was still a little bit too young. The behavior or some of the strange things they were doing while dancing, or understanding why they were wearing certain clothes or cultural equipment. I didn't realize those were some of the old warriors that were part of our culture. My name is Golden Musonza. I'm from Harare, Zimbabwe. Yes, I've been to events when I was a child. I was about 7 when I started going to some of these events that allowed me to realize I was part of a black culture. Some of these cultural events were drumming, traditional clothes were being worn, and cultural food was being served. This time it was a time they would celebrate almost like Thanksgiving. They will be thanking the Lord for some of the blessings. They pretty much thank the Lord for bringing the rain during Thanksgiving, and that way after a farming season, they thank the Lord for bringing the rain. This is the time everybody gathers to eat, so they would celebrate in all kinds of types of ways. Young girls would wear the cultural dresses, so it reminds them of where they come from and how they used to dress. And the boys would also wear some of the warrior and traditional clothes while participating in some of the traditional dances. This is where I was able to participate at least about 4 or 5 times.
Dad took us to a motocross game. And motocross, or as we know it here, is dirt biking. And he told me and my sister, you guys are gonna do this. At the time, there was no females. There was only one female who would show up once in a while. And at the time, there was no other black girls, and there was a minimal amount of black people. The black people who were there were higher class, and me and my family were middle class. We would travel from what many might categorize as the ghetto, Karioko, and go every Sunday to these shows. Our bikes were second class, were hand-me-downs. We didn't have mechanics, we didn't have campgrounds, but my dad was trying to break down those barriers. I know my fellow people who are dirt biking, I know their families. I know them on Sundays, I don't know them during the week. But on that flight, I felt like they separated from me and my family, and they weren't as welcoming and inviting as they were during those motocross games. They changed. Even the black people moved away from us. And as soon as we landed in South Africa and went to the actual show, everyone kept asking us one question: how does it feel to be a black female? Not just a female in the motocross game, but a black female. And a news report actually came out about me and my sister about being black female dirt bikers, not just female dirt bikers. That was the first time I was defined as something else than a female. And I knew myself to be half Meru, half Kikuyu. So I've always suffered with being called a half caste or half this. And then it turned into, oh, you're a female, not a boy. And then it turned into, you're black and you're not white. So I had 3 different things working against me.
That's a deep question, actually. And I mean, I've always known I'm black. Like, it's not something that like, oh, you're black. My name is, I just say Adekunle David. Canadians call me Dave. I think you come to a stream of consciousness when you are in a place where only few people look like you. And I think that would be my first time in Canada, I would say. Myself and a few friends walked past this gay couple, and the question they asked was, what are you people doing on the street? And I'm like, what are you people doing on the street? What? Everybody walks down the street. I think that was when I actually got a sense of, you're black, you don't belong here. You know, I was 19 years old when I came. I was actually very young. I had just concluded my high school, secondary school back home in college, and I came down here to upgrade my grade 12 and transfer down to the university.
My name is Ian Materi. The day I realized I was black is when I actually came to Canada. I realized like, oh, it's different. It's a different society and people are treating me, not everyone who is treating me the same. Like I was black and I was a foreigner. From where I come from, I wasn't used to having junk food a lot. One thing that surprised me about culture is the way people ate junk food a lot. Like, for example, McDonald's. I actually, when I was in Kenya, I really wanted to try McDonald's. But when I came here, I was shocked at how it was popular, and we were brought up to just to have it as a luxury. So when I came here, I was shocked. Wow, it's cheap, and I can at least have this as a meal every day, which was pretty amazing. I realized I was light skinned when I was in high school because of most of my friends. They used to tell me, "Oh, yeah, where are you from? Are you really Kenyan?" But actually, at that time, it didn't really get to me. But when I tell people I'm from Kenya, they're like, "Oh, really?"
As a dark skin, I've been lucky, you know, like I get picked first, I get the real black person privilege, so to say, aside from just being black generally. I grew up listening to songs that actually reference dark skin to be more of the original black than light skin. You know, I grew up with likes of Wesley Snipes and likes of I remember this Kanye West song that said I'll make sure this light skinned niggas never come back and stop. You know, songs like that actually give me so much strength. Knowing I'm dark skinned, I feel in my head like I'm original. Like wherever I go, who doesn't want a dark skinned guy, you know? But then again, you know, I know it's a way of us discriminating against ourselves. Like you go back to the Rwanda genocide, and we have the Utsus and Tutsis, right? I think, and people just try to feel better amongst themselves. So you're like, oh, the Utsis or Tutsis are taller, one has a longer nose and all that. So I think when people are oppressed, they find the need to grade themselves. Like it goes back to the times of slavery where you have the light skins in the house and the dark skins on the field. So I think that kind of brings everything back to colorism, where people want to feel like they're better because they are in a messed up situation. And it's human to want to have an advantage over the other.
There's black people in Canada who've lived. Personally, actually the first time I knew about colorism was when I came here, because then I get to meet other black people and they're talking about, you know, colorism being real, especially in the black community. But and then I see, you know, I hear, you know, my friends are bleaching, and I'm like, there's things I don't really pay attention to because I know who I am, and I would never like trade my skin is my history, you know, like everything that I am. I'm Kenyan and Ghanaian, you know, like all those communities are just, you know, in me, you know what I mean? Like that's who I am. So if people decide to do things to their bodies to alter the way they look, you know, the most what do they call it, excuse that I've had is, oh, you know, you get more opportunities when you're lighter and blah blah. And I'm like, come on, if you're doing what you gotta do or working hard. And I mean, I understand maybe these things are there, these systems are there and they're being created, but you turning around and bleaching your skin, how's that making a difference? You know, how are you trying to change the system? What are you telling like your child, you know, or little kids growing up who are, you know, dark skin, you know, like what are you trying to teach? You know, if you cannot make an excuse and not create a resolution, you know, you changing your skin is not helping this, is not helping, you know, the situation. So, I mean, to each their own at the end of the day, you know, but not me. Like, no, I'm sorry. I love me. I'm black. Shit. I'm African. You know when you're in Africa and you bleach and you're like, okay, you know, I'm bleaching because I'm not getting opportunities. You know, I kind of feel sorry for them though, you know, because if you're in Africa and you bleach, you know, you're not getting too many opportunities. And then, but then you're competing with your own black people, you know what I mean? Your own, like, you know, I'm this color. You're just competing with somebody that looks like me or somebody that's lighter than me, you know what I mean? And then it will be more difficult to actually come to like Canada where you're competing. You want to be white now? Like, I don't understand. Like, who are you competing with? Like, you know, I just, oh God.
Yeah.
And it's funny enough, especially in Africa, it's like even a thing where people are like, the yellower you are, they call them like yellow pawpaw in Nigeria. And it's like the yellower you are, like the prettier you are. And it's weird because it's one of those things in like in society that doesn't make sense to me, because I'm like, everyone I know, or most people I know, really love like people that have melanin. But somehow everyone's always saying like people in society should stop being colorist, and people in society should stop saying fair-skinned people are better than this. Everyone points fingers, and it's like kind of at ourselves too, because everyone I know is like, colorism is bad, blah, blah, blah. But then who are these people that are making colorism a bad thing? Is it not us?
It says so much about yourself. You just don't like yourself. And if you don't like yourself, how are you supposed to love somebody else? For you to change your skin color that's too much. I just cannot get it. And there's nobody in my family that bleaches. You know, I don't have friends that bleach. So for me, I just don't understand it. And the other thing that I really don't, and I think I said it before, is if your excuse is because because when you're light skinned you're treated better, you know, how is that helping you? Like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, what are you trying to, like, what do you change by bleaching? Bleaching your skin is not helping nobody, you know, it's just crazy. But hey, you do you, boo-boo.
Never ring my line. Give me some time, boy. Yeah.
My name is Taylor. I am from Regina, Saskatchewan. I realized I was black when I was very young. Coming from an interracial family, the color is very different. Obviously, a white mother, black father. But let's just say 4 or 5. My Nana bought me a pool for, I don't know if it was my birthday or just because it was hot outside. But anyways, I was outside in my front yard playing in my pool, and some random kids were walking by and they asked if they could play in my pool, and I didn't know them, so I was like, no. And they told me I needed to go back to Africa. So that's sort of when I realized they were judging me for something other than just who I was as an individual. But my white mother chased them up the block. So that's frustrating, because it's not people bullying you because you don't have on these shoes, or you know, it's something that you can change. It's the color of your skin. Generally speaking, being black in Canada, I think it varies. I spent 3 years in Ontario, and being black in Ontario versus Regina, Saskatchewan is vastly different. Like, there's culture everywhere in Ontario, whereas I could give you numerous of stories of how I was treated in Regina, Saskatchewan because of the color of my skin. A complete stranger to me came up to me and my ex-husband at the time, and he was very excited to see black people, I guess. And he called up his one black friend and said, talk to them. What the fuck? I don't know. Like, that's the type of conversation you want me to have, because we're black. I'm supposed to, oh, hey, other black person. Like, what is that? Like, oh, my ex-husband got mad at me because I was like, is this real life? You want me to punked? Is this happening to me? But you will never understand as a white person what it is to be a black, and vice versa, you know what I'm saying? So surface stuff doesn't matter to me. It's all within.
Let me pause, I'm need to lick a life me journey. Nana jua bado sijafika damu machozi jasho, I'm getting strong.
I live in Ontario and I live in Saskatchewan, and I can tell you for a fact, living in Toronto, I felt more comfortable being black. Like, I was on vacation to Montreal, and I have never felt any prouder of being black. There's, you know, like, there's no proud, but yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, like, it depends on where you are. In Canada as a whole, you're a minority, but if you're in the city where there are more black people, then you feel more comfortable. and it goes in and out of you interacting with people. And some people haven't even had a black friend. You're like, where do we start with this? I work with inmates, and I've had people tell me, yo, you're the first black person I'm coming in contact with. You're like, what the hell? It's like, what do you do in that situation? You have to deal with like ignorant situation. Like I had a guy once tell me, oh, eat me up. I have so many white girls for you. And like, what the hell is going on? Or I don't know, one of my boss tell me, you're so good looking, I should get you a white girl. And I'm like, I don't think you should say that. And they don't say anything wrong with it. So I think it's one of those things that happen, depends on where you are.
Sometimes I wear like my head wraps. I have fabric that my mom has brought back or my family has given me from the motherland, and I wrap it on my head and I wear it. And I was literally downtown reading a book on chakras, like just minding my business, and someone decided that they needed to tell me again, I need to go back to Africa, and then this is their land, this is where they're from. Just trying to make me feel like I didn't belong. But like, this is the only place I really knew aside from a few visits to Uganda. So I just wasn't prepared for that confrontation. So that one threw me off. Normally, like I got up and I was like, I don't know, situation had to be diffused, but like, I just wasn't ready for it. So ignorance was there.
I choose to tell them a different story. I choose to tell them where I grew up in Kenya. So many people were shocked to find out we had infrastructures with buildings and malls and cinemas and even an ice skating rink. People were very shocked to find those things out. People were shocked to find out that there's a huge rich majority who have drivers and maids and go to polio clubs and go to all these kind of things. People were shocked that we speak English as our first language in schools. People were shocked that a lot of people learn their mother tongues from being at home. People were shocked that most Africans have passports and most Africans have been out of Africa or internationally. So I took it upon myself as a time to educate because I just think people are ill-informed.
My name is Utre. Family's from Nigeria. I realized I was black around the age of 6 when I started going to school. Being black did not make me feel different in a bad way, as my dad expected it to, as my family kind of thought that we didn't fit in. I did feel different in that everything I do, it's because I'm black. If I skip school, it's because I'm black. If I'm not enjoying a certain class, it's because I'm black. Because I have no other black reference points to know what a black person's like. It's because I'm me, and me is the only black person around. So that was just the experience of being different.
To be black, to me, I feel like it's being a hero. Like, that's how I see it, because like, we have survived a lot of things and we still live on and we still standing and we still put food on our table and eat as black people. There's even people who don't have that privilege of even going to the Lama, buy like even food, but they still survive. As black people, they still survive. You will never see them going in the street be like, oh, you guys haven't eaten the whole day because like I'm black. They keep it loud, they keep quiet, they move on with life.
The black experience, it's really, really, really wonderful. I get to be seen as very masculine, very sexually appealing, at just being a black male without doing anything. It's really cool. And a lot of assumptions are made about me that are kind of like positives, you know what I'm saying? That I'm strong, or that I'm good at sports or something like that. So that's the black experience for you. It's good. It has its perks. We like to play around, like light skins are the fine boys, right? But it's not like a big deal, right? It's just we play around about color, but it's not to the extent that I feel hurt.
I got your girlfriend and she moaning. Woke up hungry, I be yawning. Woke up hungry, I be yawning. I've been smoking on my own. I've been getting in my zone.
My name is Calvin.
I've been trapping on my own.
The moment I realized I was black, I think I've kind of known that my entire life, right? I don't know. That's a tough question to answer. I would say just making black friends, mostly because people are about to flock together. So I always realized that most of my friends were black. We just flocked together. So that probably is the moment that I realized I was black myself. It was mostly people of the same country as well. So the experiences that were common to me were with other people of African descent mostly. I was 13 years old when we moved to the States. Brooklyn Park, Minneapolis. It was a huge change. This was the first time that I was a minority. The weather was different. I was definitely way different from what I was accustomed to. And then once I started going to school, that was a lot different as well. I would say not having the parents in the household all day long like it was back home, or having an elder at home, that was way different from what I was accustomed to as well. It was an adjustment period for a while. I'd say 2 years at least. That's the moment that I was away from a majority of black people around me. So yes, I think this is the time that I realized I was black.
On my own, I've been smoking on my own. I've been getting in my zone. I've been on my own. I've been trapping on my own. I've been smoking on my own. I've been getting in my zone. I've been on my own. I've been trapping on my own. I've been smoking on my own. I've been getting in
my name is Adeoluwa. I am from Nigeria, Africa. The moment I realized I was black was interesting. I think that the moment when it was most cognizant to me was when I was about 9 years old and we moved from Nigeria to the United States. I had never really seen myself to be dark. I never thought my skin was dark. I just thought it was like a regular African skin color. And then it was in high school, and we were talking about people for whatever reason, talking about complexions, and someone was like, yeah, because like Isaac is like super dark, and I was like, I'm not dark, and everyone was like they all kind of gave me the look like, what are you talking about? And I think since after then I just started to see myself as this like really dark person, like in complexion. I think that's like a moment when I think of the first time I was really cognizant of my color or my skin. I would say that would be it. I lived in the United States from when I was 8 to 16, and then when I was 16 I moved back to Nigeria. I went to school with a bunch of white kids, right? So obviously in comparison to them I would look dark or darker, right? So I just took that mentality of I'm super dark with me for like a majority of my teen years, but then as I grew older I started to see, oh, this was why I thought this and that was why I thought that. And like fast forward to now where I'm like super happy, like confident in my Africanness.
I went to school in Ireland for 2 years before coming to Canada, and there's a lot less black people in Ireland than in Canada. I moved to a school called UCD, University College Dublin, and I had to go into the international students program because I'm African, and once you're not from basically Europe or America, you have to go, even if you speak English and all that. People I lived with were like all white. It was the biggest culture shock I've ever received. A very funny story, someone I was living with had kids. One day the child tripped and fell, and I said sorry. And she was like, why are you apologizing? You didn't hit her or whatever. And I was like, no, where I come from, when someone falls or when you're hurt, you say sorry. And it was like, it was the funniest experience. And since then, every time, like if I trip, the kids come and say sorry. And it was really interesting. But there were the good sides and the bad sides, like the food and getting into conversation, because it's a little rude for them if you like leave in the middle of dinner or things like that. And for me, it was just, yeah, we're done talking. I'm out. Some people are not so comfortable with black people.
There were times where I felt disadvantaged, but then as time moved on, I also felt empowered. At some point, colorism does help because it allows people to associate with culture at different level. I've seen colorism affect in terms of the lighter people have a better insight of understanding how the white culture works, and then the darker side, unfortunately, because they sometimes get excluded the most, they don't also get time to understand how the white culture works. Teenage boys that are light skinned, brown or black, they get to hang out more with white friends compared to their counterparts who are a little more darker, or when it comes to getting invited to certain events, mainly because of how the TV or movies that portray the dark image color of black people, then they're more feared or more seen to be aggressive.
When I was 16, for whatever reason, I wanted to go back home, and I had like this super identity crisis. When I was in high school, like I said, I went to school with a bunch of white kids, and I picked up on a lot of mannerisms and just like thoughts that were not really African, in quote unquote. For example, all my friends had hair, like obviously like white hair, and so whenever their hair would get in their face, they do this. And then subconsciously, I started to do this because I was always with them. And then one day, I remember this so clearly. I went to Applebee's with my aunt, and we were talking, and I kept doing this. And she was like, what to make it make sense. A bunch of stuff like that. Like when I went back home, I realized how how I wasn't really Nigerian either, right? And when I got home, the first 3 years were really tough because so some people thought I was snobby, some people thought I was just being weird to be weird, and some people thought I was cooler than everyone else. And I couldn't make friends, which is hard for me because I'm a very fun person. I make friends easily, but I couldn't, like, there was always this like wall. It was like, you're not like us, you're this, and so transitioning was really hard. It was like weird, like thinking when you're in another country that you're this, and then when you go back home and you're not exactly that either, so that was really weird.
My name is Hafsa Hassan Kombo. I guess I've always known I'm black. You know, I'm African. I'm around people that look like me. I've never really had to question whether I was black. I'm Ugandan and Kenyan, raised in Uganda. I remember one time when I just got here for school, I was at an Ethiopian restaurant downtown, and I was in line to get something. And it was like a whole bunch of us. It was like a whole group of people waiting to get to like the counter to pay for something. And there was this white guy behind me, and he was like, "Hey, white person behind you." And he said it so loud everybody heard it. And there was so much, you know, people being uncomfortable. Even the bartender was like very uncomfortable, but then nobody said anything. I guess at that point is when I realized, I guess my skin bothered some people, you know. I was in shock, to be honest. Like, I was shocked, and I didn't know what to say. I just kept quiet, and mostly I was hoping for the reaction of like the bartender to like say something, because I was just there as somebody that came to have fun. But I could tell he was uncomfortable too. He gave me the attention, you know, he obviously let me pay for my drink and then took my money. And he kind of acknowledged me in the best way that he could. I guess that's the day I realized that was my first experience.
I'm pretty new to Canada. I've been here for 3 months. I like to think of being black and being African as two different things. There's something to be black and something to be African, and it's cool if you're black because whatever. And so I also like dealt with that a lot. Most of the people I dealt with that were African American made it a point to make me feel bad about being African. They would call me Kuti Kente, African booty scratcher. There was a time in class when people would ask if I used to go to my classes in Nigeria on monkeys or on elephants, and so I always felt like being African and being black were different. And it was until I grew up and I became older that I was like, being African is really cool. Like, it's super cool. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I just love being African so much. In the 3 months that I've been in Canada, I have noticed more Africans than black people, or black Canadians. Like, I've interacted more with more Africans than I have with people that are black Canadians. My heart is in the States just because my friends are there. And before I left, my friends were like my life.
I give you all of my love. I give you all of heart. You said it's not enough.
I did have a lot of Asian friends, and especially South Asian, and the racism within that community is so strong to the point where I feel almost traumatized with some of the friendships that I had. As much as they seem like they're in with the culture or we're alike, there's a very clear line that they draw between, you know, being black versus being South Asian. At this point in my life, I'm very skeptical. It can sound racist, but it's my truth. I'm skeptical of having even South Asian friends, white friends, just based off of my experience. Because I didn't grow up around a lot of black people, I think I needed to seek validation or comfort within them. So within my adult life, it's honestly just been black people. One thing that I found a lot just within my friendships, especially within university, was the use of the N-word. I found that because people or minorities, you know, feel ostracized within the community at large, they think it's okay to, you know, have these racial slurs or to demean black people in a way that they're very comfortable with. So a large part of my friendships and my experiences was just first trying to make myself comfortable with the fact that a lot of Asian people do say the N-word. And then as I got older and as I started showing up for black people and started knowing about myself more, I found that there was a lot of tension between me and a lot of brown people that did say the N-word. A lot of the time I was demonized and looked at as the angry black girl who's always yelling at people for saying the N-word. And I just hated being in that headspace all the time and being labeled as like ghetto or being loud when I'm honestly quite a quiet person and introspective. So I think I was just always being labeled based off of me being black, not even me being Somali or African or Muslim. It was always the ghetto stereotypes that I've never resonated with or related to. I'm not going to lie, a lot of our shared experiences were based off of just being immigrants or being children of immigrants, being Muslim. I really had to distance myself from just even Islam in general, not the religion in itself, but just the labels that it comes with. And I had to really grow outside of the religion and outside of being seen as that black girl to really know who I was. So back in those friendships, I accepted it because I thought that was the norm. I mean, when everyone around you is brown and they look down on black people, you kind of accept that as the fact. Only until I had social media and Twitter and Instagram and started seeing girls with curly hair, I would always straighten my hair and things like that. So, I mean, I had to start loving myself to realize that I was being treated wrong within those friendships. I didn't know at the time though.
My name is Baron. I'm from Quebec. I used to do construction at the U of R. I used to work with this white dude. We're just good, yeah, and he called me nigga. We were just on duty and his girlfriend ended up being laid off. He was like a First Nation, you know, so he got pissed because I was still high. Him and his girlfriend, they've been in the company longer than I've been. I don't really know what happened with him. He just passed by me and called me nigga. I was the only black dude. Real shit. I walked away. I can control my anger, so I was good.
Music put my life into context. Politicians out here talking shit.
My name is Faiza Salah and I am from Somalia, but I was born in Regina, Saskatchewan. I first realized I was black growing up in the Islamic community here in Regina. I first realized I was black within the Muslim community based off of there being different cultures and different ethnicities and how they were treated. Being a black African Muslim woman, I definitely realized there was a hierarchy, and the farther you deviated from being a Arab or speaking Arabic or anything like that, the worse you were treated within the community. Black people and Africans are sometimes even looked as secondary. There's definitely a cultural hierarchy, so being at the bottom of that hierarchy because I'm black is something that I noticed. I went to a Islamic school and my family was one of the first families to even be part of the school, not even one of the first black families. So after, I would say, about 10 years of being at the school, that's when we seen more black people coming, more Somalis to be specific. We were treated as we were ghetto, loud, again secondary. We were not given preferential treatment at all. And a lot of people had to leave the school to actually find their self-worth and find a space for them to grow. A lot of other cultures experienced that. I know a lot of South Asian cultures felt that way. Basically anything that wasn't Arab.
Don't judge me for my past pride. Don't judge me for the past struggles. Love me for who I am.
The moment that I realized I was black, it's a good one. My name is Aaron Wanjala. I'm from Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan. I never really thought about it much, but I think in Saskatoon I was about 8. We were at school. No, I must have been younger than 8, maybe 5, 6. And I told my older brother and I were in Saskatoon Christian school or Saskatoon Catholic school. And at recess, there was an argument on the playground, and a kid said, "My parents say I don't have to listen to black people." And we didn't know what to do with that. And I totally went and got a teacher, but I just thought it was a strange thing to say. And, you know, there was some behind the scenes action. And then the kid apologized and his parents came to school and it was all fine. But I really didn't pay attention to race. I didn't feel like I was the problem, but I didn't like the conflict. So it was a negative experience, but not specifically about me or my race. I have no memories about race before that point. I've gone to like 4 or 5 schools across the province, from L'Orange to Saskatoon, and most of the time, Angela and I were the only black kids. When I graduated high school, I think there were maybe 5 in my graduating class of 200. I never really thought about it much, but I had friends growing up middle of high school, so 15, 14, that were lighter skinned, and I like kind of carelessly called one of them half black, and he took like a lot of offense to that. I didn't realize that it was like a sensitive subject to that point, because I figured we're all black, but yeah, that's kind of my first experience.
Give me some time.
As I've mentioned before, I'm half white and I'm half black, so I never ever felt like I fit in with the white kids, and then the black kids were like, well, your mom's white. But when I was younger, I didn't really know where I fit in on the spectrum because they were looking at it from such a surface perspective. But if I walk through my day-to-day as a black woman, like, why should I have to explain that to anybody on where I fit in your narrow mind. Kids in my elementary school would ask if I was adopted all the time because they would see my white mom drop me off at school or come to school events and things like that. So there was a point in time where I was convinced, regardless of me knowing my father, I was like, Mom, you can tell me, am I adopted? Like, we literally had this conversation.
I hope you're ready for the long ride. 'Cause I know, you and I will like it.
My name is Saria. Some Filipinos recognize that I'm Filipino too, so they'll try to speak Filipino to me, and I just can't respond at all because I have no idea. Brown likes to speak Filipino to me too, but like I don't really respond. I feel a little bit closer to my dad's side, like the black side, just because there's more family on that side, and they're a lot closer than the Filipinos. But yeah, I definitely consider myself more black. I consider black people just like when you see them on the streets, like you'll say like hi, just because I honestly don't know a lot of the Filipino culture, and like I don't know how to speak Filipino.
My son, who is very fair skinned, he's going through it. He makes sure his afro is picked out and super big, and he's very proud of that. But just now to finally find your comfort zone as an adult and how you navigate through it now as a parent, having to deal with it again, I think it's just never ending. Nigger lips, fat lip, platypus, and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, just like, that was never called to me, but like, there's like struggles everywhere. Like, and Regina is so much better than what it was. And even more so then, like I remember hearing stories of my dad going to Halloween parties and people coming up and dressed as the KKK, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's Regina. Like, that's stories that I grew up on, you know what I'm saying? Like, nigga this, nigga that. Like, it depends on which stage of my life it is. You're pretty for a black girl, whatever that means. I think I'm gorgeous for any girl. I don't know, there's lots. I'm like 33 in a few months, so it doesn't bother me anymore. I do know white is not my standard. I don't look at a white person and think, I wish I was that. I don't wish I was anything but what I am.
I've been stuck on my own ways. 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 I've been stuck on my own ways.
I distanced myself from religion in high school back when I didn't understand it and only understood it through the scope of other people. But once I was able to love myself and understand my spirituality, I had a better time understanding and yeah, just following it.
Our culture or Southern Zulu people did believe that there was somebody high above that did amazing things. They call him Mwari, M-W-A-R-I, Mwari. They did not call him God until later on.
I only seen religion through the scope of men because we had male teachers. Within my culture, men tell women what to do. I attribute a lot of my soul searching to my mother just because she's a feminist. She was really treated wrong throughout her childhood, throughout her life by her brothers, by her husband, you know. So I first had to realize that I had to separate religion and men and my relationship with them and the religion itself. Once I started doing that and taking ownership of my spirituality and my relationship with God, I started realizing that I had to interpret what I wanted and what suits me in life and not other people's perspectives and yeah, their take on the religion. And once I did that, it was a freeing experience. And a lot of people, including myself, kind of, I would say, had not a hatred for religion, but was kind of defensive when it came up, or, you know, was quick to shut it down. But now I embrace it because I just interpret it the way I want. And no one can tell me that I'm Muslim or that I'm not Muslim. It's to each their own.
My dad is a Meru man, and Meru men are prideful. And one thing all African men want in their families or are told to have in their families is sons. my father didn't have any sons, he had 2 daughters. And in doing so, he wanted us to break down barriers of what boys and girls could do.
My name is Dorothy. I'm from Nigeria.
My name is Sylvia Okonkwo. I'm from Nigeria.
My name is Blessing Alasan. I'm from Nigeria. I came here to be a filmmaker because I write, I direct, I produce. And then I was trying to premiere my short film, so I was looking for where to show it to people. So I went to, I started emailing like at the university because of course I went to school there. So I went to this prof and I told him that, and he said, oh yeah, when I saw him, he said, oh yeah, just send me an email and I'll see where we can use us at the theater department. Then I tried to reach him. I emailed him, I called him, no response, nothing. And so I tried to message somebody else in the faculty. And so when I did, the person also did not reply. So I was like, what would it hurt? Let me just go there by myself and see. So someone came out of his office. I could hear them chatting and, you know, laughing and all that. And the person came out. So I knock, and the moment I get in, his reaction instantly changed. And when it changed, he said, I said, yeah, we talked the other day. I've been trying to like email you and everything. And then I sent an email to somebody else. And then he told me, yeah, he saw the email I sent to somebody else. That's a third party. And in my heart, I was going, you saw the email I sent to the third person that is not you, but you couldn't even reply my own email. And then the next thing he says is, well, you can't use the room. You're not a student. And I'm going, what do you mean I'm not a student? Like, this is my student ID. I can't forge my student ID. I'm registered for classes for this summer, so why would you say I'm not even a student of the university? I could tell by the way he was acting that it so much had to do with my skin color. And so he said, yeah, you're not going to do it, and that's it.
It's like there is always like that community of saying that you are foreign and that I'm here to stay. So like when you're talking to people, you can tell like the way they talk to you, it's like they don't really want you at all. Like they don't really want, like they don't want you to ask any question. There is a difference when you're going to ask a professor like a question as a black person and as a white person.
I got to the stairwell and I sat down and I cried. I cried so deep that I said, you know what? To hell with this. I'm gonna do it. And so I called my boyfriend then, but he's no longer a boyfriend, and he said, you're going to premiere your movie in a place where you will never imagine. So don't let anybody tell you what you're not, because you are different. You have amazing storyline, you're so talented, and the world is yet to see you for who you are. That day I was so hurt, I was so angry, and I ended up not premiering that film. I was so broken that for a whole year, I didn't write any scripts. I didn't look at my script app, nothing. The very first project I put my all in and everything, it was just, this world didn't give me room for it. I was going on this trip, and I thought about it. I thought about the whole racism and everything, and I was like, why do people say love, 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 but they don't let the love go beyond the race? Why can't they see that love before that race? And so I came up with a story called Love Against Race. It's about a black guy who fell in love with a white girl. Looking at the love before you look at the race. So you let love win, literally. That movie, I didn't hold anything back. I said the word for word, the words I usually hear, the words that they address me as, oh, I never knew you could, like, no, you're so beautiful. It's hard to believe you're from Africa. Or, you speak good English. And I'm going, okay, I speak good English. It's supposed to be a compliment or an insult. The guy who played the dad, he came to me and said, Blessing, these words, they're too much. They're too strong. And I said, because I want the words that people are always afraid to say, but they see it in their closet. The first screening was at Rainbow Cinemas, and I actually looked beyond my color and I did it, and it was amazing. And anybody who saw the screening, I was like, oh, you did a good job, you told the story well. I ended up not using that theater, but I used somewhere bigger with even an audience I didn't even expect. And the positive result and energy I got back after it just kept me going. So that's just literally how it is. Love against race.
See, as I'm walking in the kitchen like this, that means I need to get more. No.
I came to Canada 2015 September. I came with so much dreams. When I got here, oh, nobody told me it was cold. They didn't tell me that part. My dad would never let me do film because when I was much younger, he was like, well, there are other things you can do and all that. So I always had back on my mind that if I ever wanted to do film, I need to be far, far away where he can't reach me or stop me. I used to write for magazines, and then I used to hide it so that he wouldn't say, you're supposed to go to school and pass. You're doing this. And one day he stumbled into it. It was kind of happy, but he low-key didn't want to say it. You know how African dads are always like, I love you, but they won't say I love you. Yeah. So he saw the article, I wrote for the magazines. So I think I wrote for about 2 magazines episodes. And they liked it. And my dad saw it and he saw my name and my last name. And I think he was kind of impressed, but I don't think that still got to him.
Coming from Nigeria, my parents were very educated people, so our English was a thing that we always had to speak really good English. And then when I came to America, they'd be like, why are you talking like a white person? I'm like, I'm just speaking English. I don't, because my God forbid you said like yo in my house or something. You know, my dad would be like, what do you think you are? So I just grew up speaking really good English. That was just a thing in my house. And when I came to the US, when I lived in New York and in New Jersey, it was like, oh, you have to be like bra and you have to use your hands to talk. And I didn't do that.
You have to work extra hard. If other people are getting it at once, you have to do like 3-4 times. There's diversity now, like in Canada, as of maybe back in the day, because grandma used to tell me back in the day it was so obvious, but now people try to be polite about it, like say nice things in not so nice way. I would say something, all of this experience, I overcame them.
I came to Canada 2015, April, yeah, so spring of 2015. I came here to go to med school, and I chose Canada just because of the healthcare system being one of the best in the world. I don't think it actually ever dawned on me that I was black until I came to Canada, where the predominant skin tone wasn't mine, and then I was like, oh, I'm kind of different. I think it was pronunciation of my name. My first name is Omoyene, but when I came here, people pronounce it Omoyen. Omoyen, just different. Whatever type of piece you can put together with O-M-O-Y-E-N-E, they made it happen. You can come into a place and it's like predominantly white and like, oh, I'm different.
But
it doesn't have to always relate to racism. Actually, I would just go with the flow because I was scared. I was like, I don't know what to say. Like, do I correct my teachers? Do I correct people who are here to help me? And after a couple mispronunciations, I was like, no, it's Omoyeme. And they're like, Omoyemi? No, it's Omoyeme. They're like, cool. I'm like, no, let's try it again, because I'm gonna come to the lab tomorrow and you're gonna have to pronounce my name again, because we take attendance in classes, so you're gonna have to pronounce my name again and I need you to do it correctly. If you can't say Sylvia, let's go with Omoyeme. And once in a while I just let it go because it's fun to watch people struggle.
It's typically an old white lady who owns my name. And I've been told that severally. I would hand in my resume, and when I show up and they're like, are you Dorothy? I'm like, yeah. So I haven't really had a lot of bad experiences with it. What I've noticed is people tend to treat you different when they actually see you and notice that, okay, yeah, you're different, or like you're black. But for me personally, it hasn't been necessarily like negative where people have denied me opportunities or looked down on me or stuff like that. Luckily, I've had pretty good experiences being black in Canada. I always kind of knew I was black. I always felt different. Back in Nigeria, I actually grew up in the state that, or in the city that predominantly has light-skinned people. In a city in River State called Port Harcourt. So I kind of always knew I was black because most of my friends and my classmates were always lighter than me, so it was kind of like a tease thing because I was the darkest in my class. I was also freakishly tall than most of my classmates, so it was always that, like, you're different from us. They would like try to bully me, like, you're really dark and also you're really big, you're always hanging out with the guys, you're kind of like a guy.
My friend group, we were really diverse, and at the same time we understand the importance of diversity, so everyone's like all for inclusion, all for diversity. So I've never been around people who just have that kind of negative connotation to skin color. I feel like I've just surrounded myself with people who just understood diversity to the point that I haven't experienced racism as intensely as other people have. First of all, it's been fun because of obviously my name. It was a funny experience just hearing how people pronounce your name with so much pride when they're wrong. And then it went downhill from there. And I started working in retail, and people would just not want the black girl to help them, or just feel like the black girl doesn't have enough style for them. I'm like, okay. It's like the little, like, you know, shrug and negative and look sometimes, and people intentionally not wanting you around them and like clutching their purse sometimes. Just those little things, but not one-on-one interaction, I would say.
I work retail. Sometimes I think my neighbors actually murder people and move them around. Sorry. A lady walked into our store and I walked up to her to talk to her, and she's like, oh, I don't need any help. And I'm like, okay, cool, because you do get, if you work retail, you do get those kind of people sometimes. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let me know if you need anything. I'm just gonna be walking around the store. Normally in retail, you're supposed to check in on them every now and then just to make sure they're not looking for anything or you can help them when they need it. So I kept doing that, and she freaked out on me the second time I tried checking in on her. And she's like, look, I have 5 kids. I don't need you to keep checking up on me. And I'm like, okay, yeesh. And I backed up, and I didn't really clock it that she was being like discriminatory until my assistant manager, who was white, just walked past her and she's like, oh, excuse me, could you help me? And I'm like, that's what I've been trying to do. The assistant manager is like, Dorothy will be able to help you. And I was like, I had this guy once tell me I'm typically not the type of girl he would go for because I'm dark skinned. Initially, it wasn't negative. In my head, people saw me different and they were probably like, oh my God, she's so different. Oh, love it. I'm not the only one who's gone through this. Most guys, or like even people, they like treat you different, or they like tell you things like, well, typically I don't talk to people who look like you, or yeah, my ex-girlfriends or people I've been with or been friends with, they don't look like you. And they try to make it look like, oh, it's cool, and they try to disguise it as my preference. When they say it, it doesn't come off like that, because then it's trying to let you know that, yeah, you're typically not my standards, but now I have to kind of bring myself down to accommodate you. I've gotten to a point where those kind of people, I try to spot them early and just avoid them and put myself in better situations, because I've realized that most times those people actually have really deep issues to deal with.
I've been dropping on my own. I've been smoking on my own. I've been getting.
My boyfriend's name is Dion. He doesn't really like me wearing like certain things because I am a little bit curvier, and I don't know, I have a little bit of like a bigger bottom. People automatically assume like when you're curvier, when you wear certain things that you're just trying to show off, but it's not the case. I like to wear what I like to wear. When I get loud or angry, like people assume that's from my black side and stuff, which is just me, that's just who I am sometimes. For Dion's side, I feel like a lot of people don't think that he would actually go for like a black girl, I guess. And a lot of people wouldn't think that I'd be like with a white guy. just like, oh, I think I would picture you with a black guy.
I don't blame you, I just blame you love for the money. I give you all of my
I came to Canada 2015, March 24. I understood what it means to be black when I came in Canada, because like there was a lot of like differences how the way they treat people. My name is Pacific Ndikumanaya. I'm from Tanzania. And back home, like there is like war going on there, so we kind of applied for like immigrants application, so we can like be in a safe country, Canada. So there, they start like picking groups. Even United States too, they do that at the same time. Like they just pick refugee and be like, okay, we're gonna take this kind of group or this amount of people in our country.
Somalia was colonized a long time ago by Italy and also Britain, and it was kind of divided up based off of colonies. And in '94, when it was free, when it got its freedom, the country didn't know how to govern itself. So civil war broke out based off of tribes. Yeah, and it was basically been a tribal war ever since. And the country has not had a government for many years, one of the only failed governments in the world. Terrorist groups have taken over. The country is divided based off of tribes. And a lot of the times the tribes are divided off based off of physical features as well. Probably 95% of Somalis in Canada, or even the diaspora in general, have fled from war, and most of them are refugees. And in the north right now is its own country even. It's named Somaliland, and it was a former British colony. Yeah, so basically colonization and tribalism is destroyed the country. My family fled from Somalia to Kenya as refugees, and a lot of my family's still there. My family is rooted in Kenya, Somalia, and Canada.
When I first came, I didn't even have any of my culture stuff or patriotism due to the way I was being transported through the refugee system. Then unfortunately, just like most refugees, when they leave their countries, they're not able to take their cultural stuff or anything that they can consider prideful. And I was one of those until I visited back home in 2014. I was finally able to bring back a piece of my pride. This Zimbabwean flag. This is my twin brother. His name is Gilbert, and we're both identical twins. We've both been here for 14 years.
In terms of what the country offers for benefits and opportunity, I've been able to empower myself personally and as well as my family by coming to Canada, being able to use the opportunities they give. It has been a true blessing and a wonderful opportunity.
The process of like coming to Canada from Africa, it took a really long time to get done. Oh my Lord. That took almost, I can say, 4 to 5 years. Cause I remember at first we get lucky to go to United States, and that was in 2006 or 7. But we were not able, Mom didn't want to go anyway. So she was like, I'm not staying here, nobody going nowhere. So we stopped, we wasn't looking for anything to come here. We were just living normal life until 2013, from 2012 to 13. That's when Mom realized, was like, okay, we gotta apply again. We gotta start doing the process again, and so we can see if we're gonna be able to come here. In my imagination, I was like, you're going in a country that you don't know, nobody, you don't know no one at all. There's no one, it's only your family. So all my fear was I don't know how we're gonna live here. I don't know what's gonna happen, or we might come here, just end up in the street. I have so much worries in me that things might work out, things might not work out.
Being young, or being younger, you're in your head a lot. And it just happens that sometimes it feels like your light-skinned friend is, and it goes into the other things. I think I was talking about this with someone the other day when I was talking about how I really love my skin. It's weird when things come up in media or in conversation that people say things that are a jab towards you or towards something that you love so dearly. Because even when people are even that time in school when people were like, you're really dark, I still remember being shocked because I never saw myself as being super dark, but also because I'm like, yo, my skin is bomb. Like, I don't know, I love my skin. Like, there are times like when I put cream on and like it shines really like silky and like it's really tough, and like when it goes back strong. And I don't think I have had any experience that has made me, with colorism, that has made me think like less of my skin or hating my skin or whatever. I've just had very like side things that I can attribute to being young and not knowing who you are, that I've kind of learned to brush off because, like I said, skin's bomb.
Colorism is very prevalent in the Somali community based off of the different varieties of skin tones that come within families. Biologically speaking, just because I am a biologist, Black women can give birth regardless of their spouse to any shade under the rainbow. So 2 light skins can make a dark skin, 2 dark skins can make a light skin. And with Somalis, I just find that very prevalent. We also have a whole different variety of hair textures, facial features. We were colonized by Italy, as well as have a large Arab influence within us, which differentiates us just based off of tribe and region and things like that. I wouldn't consider myself light skin or dark skin. I just consider myself in the middle, but in comparison maybe to some of my darker friends, they think that it's not fair for me to label myself as brown skin, versus it could go the other way around too. We have so many different shades and colors within our own family. My older sister is pretty light skinned, and my brother, who is the next one after her, is dark skinned. So based off of us having just a whole bunch of different colors within my family, I haven't experienced too much of colorism, and I haven't been around many Black people throughout my life. So I really didn't have many skin colors to compare to. But my cousins who are darker, their color and their shade and colorism has been just a topic of discussion for them more. We do definitely experience colorism. If you're lighter, you have more privilege, you have more options to get married, you're seen as more beautiful. That's definitely a thing. But personally, I would have to say I haven't experienced that. If I have a friend that's the same skin tone as me and they label themselves as light skin, they would automatically try and label me the same to kind of affirm their own belief within themselves. Or I've had a lot of dark skinned friends who've kind of pushed the narrative of being light skinned on me, even though I don't identify with that, just to make themselves feel a little bit better about honestly not being as dark, and as sad as that is. I would just speak on my experience. I consider myself a Black woman, although honestly a lot of Africans and a lot of Somalis that I've encountered don't label themselves as Black. And at first I thought that was a color issue, maybe with colorism, featureism, things like that. But the more I kind of researched and understood it, it's because in Africa, everybody's Black and no one has to label themselves based off of their skin color. Whereas when you come here, in order to relate to people, to see commonality, you sometimes relate to people based off of skin color.
It's a really difficult thing. As you can tell, it's a really difficult thing. As youth, it's a real difficult, because like there is a point where now we are looking ourselves, like we are looking places where we fit and we never fit. That's why we always ended up in the wrong place, in the wrong time, dying, like a lot of things happening to us, because like we never found ourselves fit in anything, either in Black people that we found here or white people. We never found ourselves fit in those kind of like communities. Living in Canada as a Black person is really hard. It's the same thing as the United States. It's really hard. Even like people say there is differences, like a kind of it doesn't have a lot, like, you know, racism and stuff like that. But I feel like there is a lot. It's just like you've never been exposed to the public and be like, oh, you treating me like this because I'm a Black. You've never been that kind of exposure like in Canada. I don't think I've seen it anyway in Canada. But there is a lot. It's low key. They hate you, but they still want to eat on the same plate as you. That food you're eating, you're not gonna enjoy it because like the person who's sitting next to you is the one who wanna kill you the next day morning.
Being Black is a different experience than being African or being Somali or things like that. I mean, Somalis or Nigerians or Kenyans, they're not looking at themselves as Black. They're looking at themselves as their tribe, their culture, their ethnicity. And when you come to Canada or even the West or North America, you honestly have to start labeling yourself as things you wouldn't otherwise, just in order to survive and to connect. Sometimes just being with your own community, you tend to stick to closed-minded ways. I was born here and I had to navigate this culture, my own culture, and find who I am within that. And I found that oftentimes sticking with your own people, if you don't adhere to a lot of the things they want you to do based off of the expectations they had back in their home country, you get ostracized from the community, you get looked down upon, you get pushed out of the community, which is something that happened to my family just because of simple things like wearing pants or going to school or being a single parent. So in order for my family to succeed, we had to make connections outside of our community. And one thing is that a lot of other African communities were really welcoming towards us, and we had really good exposure to other Black people.
I fear for my nephew. I fear that he is half white and half Black. But many people who are half white and half Black identify most of the time as Africans or as Black. Now, for sure, my nephew, I think, identifies as Kenyan, but he has his father who's white and Irish and Jamaican, who he still has those influences from. He might be caught in a power struggle of, is he Black or is he white? Being white might be easier because he might fit in better, because they might not think he's Black, quote unquote, Black enough.
If we sit down and unite together and just fight together and stand together and work together, it will be a better community for every black person who's gonna, even like the next generation, they're gonna live in a better life where they don't have to question themselves that, oh, I don't know where my parent came from, I don't know where my uncle from, I just know that it's time we start healing. Let's work, man. Let's get them understand that we are Black and we live matter.
I was like super paranoid about going back to this. Every week there was like a new hashtag for someone who died, and we would forget about it. Like I never forgot about them, and then I would be like, yo, people don't talk about this person anymore, and like they're in my head. And when people would forget about it and move on, I would be like, yo, that's it. Like that's a whole life. I can't lie. At the back of my mind, I'm like, I just have like this recurrent nightmare about waking up or not waking up and being a hashtag. That hashtag that people move on from.
Sean Bell was a Black person and she just wanted to live. Eric Garner just wanted to breathe. George Floyd just wanted to breathe. Minnesota is my home. It's my home state. I'm ashamed of what happened in Minnesota. This cannot happen. It's 2020.
My last name is Sexy.
It's finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. Until there no longer exists a first and second class citizen of any nation. Until the color of a man is no longer, is of no more significance than the color of his eyes. Until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race. Until that day, the dream of lasting peace and world citizenship and the rule of international morality will remain but a fleeting illusion. This is not only in the United States, it's everywhere. It's right here in Regina.
sijafika R.I.P. bones easy let me pause I'm need to lick a life ni jani na najua bado sijafika damu machozi jasho I'm getting stronger every week kila siku ni struggle uchumi zidi haribika aflatoxin kwa unga got my people getting sicker poverty disease corruption na taxes bado nalipa kani vita hii kalamu ndio silaha hii maisha kitu muhimu ni furaha kuna siku Greezy mimi nitachoka 2020 Greezy mimi naomoka mimi mnoma mpaka najiogopa mimi mnoma mpaka najiogopa chasing goals hapa mimi ndio gopa kichwa bigi kama logo ya ogopa give me some time give me some time give me some time yeah niliachanga my feelings say nasaka my shillings give me some time give me some time give me some time yeah niliachanga my feelings say nasaka my shillings